Okay, so today we're going to make a video to create this clamp guard, as it's being called here. It's a fairly simple part, but it can get confusing because of all these hidden lines here. So I'm just going to kind of walk through how I would approach cutting this out, because I think there's a very quick way to do it, and I think there's also a very long way to do it. Both will end up with the right result, but certainly one of them will be a little less painful. So I'm going to move that over to my other screen. So the first thing I would do, as always, is set my working directory. Then I'm going to start my part. For this part in particular, my students have a specific part number they have to use. So for this one, it is 55,500-05. I'm going to hit OK. That'll bring me into my part one of these days. Alright, so now that I'm in my part, if we look at this clamp guard, we can see it's pretty clear that this thing's cut out of a rectangular prism that is 1.5 by 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to draw on the top. So I think everything's going to kind of be cut away from the top, so I'm going to kind of approach this the way the machinist would, as I should anyway. So I'll go to extrude, right click, define internal sketch. I'm going to pick my top plane. I'm going to sketch right on that top plane. Now, it doesn't matter if this thing's centered or not. Really up to you. I'll approach it with a corner rectangle, since everything's kind of based on that bottom left corner. So I'm just going to go up like this. I'm going to change this height, like I said, to 5.25. This width is going to be 2.75. And then I'll hit my refit. That part looks pretty good. Let me drag these out so they look better on my drawing. I'm going to hit the checkbox. And I'm going to extrude this thing downward. I could also go up. Doesn't make any difference. But I'm going to go downward 1.5. And then hit the checkbox. There's my starting point. Now what I could do is I could go through and actually like round everything and do that sort of thing. We can look at the part, see if we think that there's any advantage to that. But so what I see is if I wanted to, I could put these radii out here. That might not be a bad idea because I'm probably going to want to reference those later on. And this one down here as well. So why don't I do that? I normally try and hold off the rounds till the end, but I think these will actually be valuable. I'll show you why later. So we'll put these in first. So I'm going to first put that in. That'll give me my 3/8 for the outside here. I'm going to hit OK. Here's why I didn't click the last one for the bottom. Is now I'm going to go back and put another 3/8 one, but because this is rounded, it's going to nicely just wrap right around in one click. So I'll hit my checkbox, switch back to standard definition, and then we'll continue on with this part. Now, the next thing is that, you want to zoom in for me, there we go. The next thing is I need to kind of decide how I'm going to make these cuts, because the shape of my different cuts are very, very important. And the order of these cuts are very, very important. So for me, what I see is a general cut that goes around like this, down to the bottom edge here, about 1/4 inch from the bottom. I don't like that dimension, by the way, so we're going to replace that for sure. And then I also have this rectangular cut here, comes down and around. That's going to cut across and stop when it hits my little cylinder here. So I'm going to make this cut out first. Okay, so sort of squiggly with a cutout here and then a circle here. So here's how I would approach it. I would go extrude, hold right click, define your sketch, pick the top plane, and then I'm going to sketch. Now I need a whole bunch of references here. So I'm going to go reference. I'm even going to put the rounds in. That's why I did these already. Get all these sides, get all these rounds just in case I need them. I'm going to hit close. Now, I could do a couple things. I could offset a loop in. I don't really love that idea. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to create my shape. So we're going to go, let's see, over, down, over, down, over, and then back up. And then of course I also have a couple other circles in here. So I've got one here, got one here. Make sure that's not tangent. And then I've got a line that comes off right down like this. This horizontal line, make sure it's not tangent. It goes down like that. Now I'll do a couple trims. I'm not sure if I need that whole, yeah, it's not here, so I'll be okay. Trim those away. Alright, now I can start putting some dimensions in. So, let's see, I've got a dimension from here to here. I've got one on the other side. I've got a dimension for the center of this. Well, and I go through and change these as I go. So this is 0.25. This is 0.25. This is 0.5. The radius of this guy is 0.5. You see it's getting pretty big now. Then I have a dimension to the center. So from here down to here is 0.75 plus 1.625. So 2 3/8. You can see my lines aren't where they need to be yet. And then dimension from here to here of 1.75. Let's move that up. Okay, so we're getting there. I'm just going to move my dimensions out of the way so I can see them a little easier. And I have a dimension up here, from here to here, of 0.25. I have, oop, I forgot my circle here. I'm kind of jumping around everywhere. My circle here, so is going to be 0.75. Drag that out of the way. My circle from here to here is 0.875. Let's finish off this square. From here to here, oop, missed it. From this line down to this line, 1.75. From this line to this line is 0.625. Alright, and I just put a negative to make it go the other way. And then what else am I missing? I've got this dimension here. I'll definitely change this dimensioning scheme around for my drawing because this is a very confusing way to dimension this. But we'll make it work for now. Got that, good. Looks like I'm in pretty good shape here. So then the next thing I can do is I could actually put rounds in here, and I'll show you why. What we're going to do I'll show you the ways we could do this. We can pick fillet. And then I could pick this, and then I could say these two centers are coincident. Alright, what that's going to do is this is going to get a little upset with me. Alright, because in order for those centers to be coincident, by making those rounds now, this one dimension is now going to follow that around as I make more rounds. So I can go over here, do the same thing. Coincident, center, center. And another one wants to go away, so now we've just got this guy left. And then down here, what I'm going to do is go fill it here, fill it here, fill it here, and here, as well as here and here. Then what I have to do is I have to go equal, because they're all the same size, and I'm going to pick that one, I'm going to pick this one, that one's good, and just walk my way around. That one's going to be equal, that one's going to be equal, that's equal, that's equal. And this guy. Alright, so I might end up losing one dimension like this because it was referencing some hard corners. I'll just move that down. Click it, hold right click, make it a strong dimension, hit enter. 1.5 is correct. Okay, so there's my first cutout. Now what I can do is hit the checkbox, make it a cut, and cut downward. Now this whole thing is 1.5. It says it's a quarter from the bottom, so this is going to be 1.25. Hit OK. It also looks like there's a round around the bottom as well that I could put in. I do that before I forget, so I'll put that one in. That one's going to be 3/8 minus the 1/4 wall thickness, so 1/8, which is what my other ones were. Okay, there we go. Actually, I see that it's around one other place. Right there. Okay. So now I've got my cutout on the side I was talking about. So I'm going to go define sketch on the side. And this one's fairly simple. Just got to make sure they gave me all my dimensions in. Not sure that they did. Yes, they did. Alright, so I'm going to add a reference in right here. Take my rectangle right across here. Okay. And actually this cutout is, so if I go coincident, this line is coincident with this surface. I just need my other dimension. So this is going to be 2.375. This is going to be 0.75. Now let's see if this works the way that I'm intending it here. What I should be able to do is hit cut, flip the direction, and then go up to next. And what up to next is going to do is once it breaks through, it's going to cut away up until when it hits another surface. What this is actually doing for me is it's giving me a little extra thingy right here. So maybe this isn't the way I want to approach it. Let's cancel out of it. So I'll go extrude, and maybe I want to cut it at the top. That would certainly work as well. So let's do it this way. Let's add some references for all these lines, for there as well. And then now, let's do it the way that theirs looks. So we're going to go circle. I'm going to start there, right out to there. And I need a bunch of lines. So I'm going to go over, up. I'm going to go over and up there. I could just make this rectangular, but I'll put the circle in and everything. Circle, line, circle. I can also reference points, but if I have to move things later, I don't really like to project too much, because if I have to move things later, it causes a lot of problems for me. So I'll close that up, and then I'll go and delete what I don't need. So get rid of that, get rid of that. Over here, get rid of that. I have a nice closed area. Now I just need to put my dimensions in. So this is going to be 2.375. I'm going to hit OK. Flip directions. It's going to become a cut, and it's going to go down 0.75. And we can see that gets the same thing accomplished we had before. Now I can hit OK. And I just need to put a couple rounds in there. So this round and this one. And then this one, this one. And these are 1/16, 0.0625. That looks pretty good. Right. So now I've got my general shape completed. Now I've got to put some holes in that are around various parts of the part. So first, let me see where I have axes. I have one here. I don't have one here. I'm definitely going to need one for the cut through there, so I'll put an axis on there. All right, now I'll cut some holes in. Almost all these holes come from the other side. This one doesn't really matter. I'm going to go from the other side anyways. So I'm going to pick that axis. I'm going to hold control. I'm going to pick that surface. This one is 0.375, and it goes all the way through. All right, that looks good. Hit OK. I'll create my next hole. This axis, hold control, pick that side. And all that's doing is making it a coaxial hole by default. Goes all the way through. This one, however, has a counterbore, so I'm going to hit standard shape. Turn my counterbore on. My counterbore is oh, that's interesting. So this is actually patterned. That's okay. So this counterbore is 1/2 inch. How deep is it? 5/16 deep. The hole itself is 5/16. There we go. And there's one more hole right along here. I could do it a couple different ways. I'll actually do it with a directional pattern. So let's right click this. Let's go pattern, direction. I can pick this edge to say it goes in this direction. And the next one is 1.625 down. If I hit OK, there's my second hole. Okay, now I have a hole in the front, right here. That is not that big. It is 1 inch. It is dimensioned from the top and from the side. So it's a 1 inch from over here, and it is 625 down, and that one's going to be a through to next. So it's going to drill through, and that's going to stop when it hits that other surface. There's another one. And then I have, let's see, one more hole, and I'm done with the whole part. So I'm going to pick hole. This one's over here. This one is also 5/8 down. And it is 7/8 from this surface over here. And it's much smaller than this. It is going to be 5/16 hole. And it's also going to drill through to next, so it just breaks in and stops. I'll hit OK. And that's my whole part. So it's kind of a complex part. It's got a whole bunch of different mounting holes and things like that, it seems. But not a ton of features if we approach it the right way. Okay, so there's our final part. I'll turn my datums off so you can see everything.